Hello, this is going to be a very quick demo to show you how to use while loops. While loops are the simplest type of loop, and they can be used when you don't really know how many times you're going to want to repeat something, and that's useful when you're kind of trying to drive like menu-driven interface or asking the player to repeatedly do something. So let me show you how to write a while loop. If you just type the word while and hit tab twice, Visual Studio will stub out the while loop. So a while loop is just an if statement that repeats. So if this were an if statement, we'd say, okay, if whatever this condition is true, if this condition inside the parentheses is true, then do whatever is inside of the curly braces. A while loop is just like an if statement, except that it repeats as long as this condition is true. So this loop will actually run forever here because this will always be true. So as long as this is true, this loop is going to keep running. Normally this while loop will run as long as whatever you say you specify inside of those parentheses is true. And I'll just do a little demo here. I'll make an integer called I, and I'll say, well, I is less than 10. Console.writeLine. Whoops, come on, there we go. I, and then let me add 1 to I plus, add 1 to I. So I will be 0, is 0 less than 10, yes, so print the value, add 1 to I is now 1, is 1 less than 10, yes, so it's going to keep cycling around until I becomes 10, is 10 less than 10, no, so we don't execute the body of the loop, and now we jump past it and continue executing the program. So there's an example of a while loop. And then that cool little trick to do console.writeLine, if you just hit CW tab, that expands to console.writeLine. So that's super easy. And then let's just run that and see. Just watch it run here. And then at the end, I'm going to put a breakpoint. I'm going to hit F9 just so we can hold the console window open. Or you could also start without debugging. That'll hold it open too. And you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then when that condition was false, we skipped over that. We stopped executing the body of the loop. So we printed out all the numbers. We went around and around and around and around until I got to be 10. This was no longer true, so we don't do this anymore, and we just jump over it. We keep going. So that's a while loop, using a counter. However, when we're doing a user interface, we don't know how many times. Maybe we just want to keep repeating until the player enters quit or something like that. So let me just show you how you can do something like that. Let me do console.writeLine, enter an option, or Q to quit. Alright, so I'm just going to assume that there's making up some sort of little menu system here, and then string, choice equals console.readLine. So that'll get a line of input off the player, and then if let's say they entered a Q, well then I don't want to loop anymore. So how do I do that? Well, that's where I can use the word break. So if I could say if the choice is equal to Q, Q, break. And what that will do is jump me out of one level of looping. So if I had a while loop inside of a while loop, break wouldn't jump me out of both. It would just jump me out of one level of looping. So let's just watch that. So this is just going to keep running around and around and around and around forever because there's no real condition in here that's ever going to change. This is always going to be true. So how do I ever exit the loop? Well, if the choice that the player entered was the letter Q in lowercase, then we break. And I guess I could have also written it like that. Maybe that makes it a little more clear. I'll put the curly braces in there. And yeah, maybe I'll even put in like CW bye. There you go. And then let's run it. So it says enter an option or Q to quit. So if I didn't handle the other options, so if I just type in anything, it's going to say enter an option or Q to quit. If I type Q, Well, what's going to happen? Let's find out, shall we? I'll put in breakpoints and I'll enter Q. And you can see now in our code we stopped there. So our choice is in fact Q. So does Q equal Q? Yes. So we enter the body of the if statement and we print out by, and then we break. And watch what happens. Watch where our program goes after we break. We've jumped past the while loop. We've jumped completely out of the while loop, and now we continue executing past the loop. So this is going to be useful in like the number guess program, where you have to go around and around and around and around until the player gets the right number, and then you can break out of your loop. So hopefully that is a little bit helpful. While loops, you know, that while true thing, that can be useful just for creating a little simple little menu-driven interface. All right, if you need help, anything that's confusing about this, just email me, let me know. I'll be happy to help.